know, a lot of these countries are agricultural, as you mentioned, is that the food comes from about 14 other counties, and counties that we don't operate in, right? So a farmer in Busia, or farmers in Busia provide us with Western Ndengu, right, a brown type of gram. Farmers in Makueni then provide us with actual Ndengu. And if you look at our operations, to date we've served over 100 million meals, right? If you look at the beans we've supplied totally, right, that's about 7 million kgs. If you look at the vegetables we've supplied, so that's carrots, onions, cabbages, tomatoes, from farmers, be they in Wasingishu or Trans Nzoia, be they in Kiambu, be they in Muranga, that comes to about 4.4 million kgs, right? So this is a ready market that farmers have been able to access. We've heard, for example, anecdotal stories from some of the farmers we work with. When they started working with us, walikuwa wanaleta gari, walikuwa wanaleta chakula na boda boda, ama wanakodisha pickup, but now they've been able to purchase, you know, a car to be able to bring the supply. So we work with aggregators that have access to tens of thousands of farmers.
Is it practical to expect that such a program would source for foods in particular counties for feeding children for that particular county? Yeah. So that probably the debate is, we are feeding our own children. Is it practical to look at it that way?
I think in some ways it is, but the reality is always that that county might not have everything. So for example, if you're feeding hypothetically Taita Taveta County, and you might need you know, beans or green grams at a certain level, you might not be able to. The other thing is, when we partner with county governments, for example, we tell them that because of the scale that you're looking at, we'll need to make sure that the way in which we source for ingredients is standardized, right? So that it means that if we have to get beans from 6 counties to ensure that the children in these 4 counties can eat, we will do that. But at the same time, we realize that obviously there is a need to also connect, and there's a conversation around homegrown school feeding to ensure that that is done. So while it's practical, in some ways, it'll have some challenges depending on where you do it and the context.
What about matters nutrition? And
Yes.
Because I get probably that is part of also your contribution to this, the nutrition benefits for children. How do counties come in to this debate?
Sorry, how do counties come in what sense?
In as far as nutrition is concerned,
Yes.
because part of their job is to ensure that the nutrition of children is catered for.
Perfect. So
do they probably contribute towards your menu and say, fine, we would want children in this particular county to be fed this standard of food?
Yes, so anytime we partner with a county government, obviously we will take them through our menu, and our menu ensures that that meal is balanced. It meets the minimum dietary requirements. I think there are about 7 elements of that we make sure that meal meets. As I mentioned earlier, you know, the meal will have a starch for energy for the kids, usually rice. It'll then have a legume stew, right? So either beans, green grams, or Western Ndengu. And then it'll have vegetables, included there, as mentioned, onions, tomatoes, cabbages, carrots. You know, every week or 2 we provide a fruit, usually in the form of a banana. And then obviously we use fortified oil. So trying to make sure that meal is actually quite nutritious for those children. But as I mentioned, in Muranga and Embu, we provide porridge, and that porridge is fortified with the right minerals, a balance of, you know, maize and millet flour, to make sure that those children actually at that very young age are getting the nutrients that they need. And a big part of how we arrive at those menus is actually with the county governments. As Food for Education, we're also partnering with the Ministry of Health to develop school menu guidelines, because we know what a 4-year-old girl eats is different to what a 14-year-old boy eats. And at times that serving is standard, yet you'll see that a boy in JSS is saying, Tosha. So we're working with them to ensure that what is provided you know, is meets the needs of that child. We've also done studies where we've looked at what the children are eating at home versus what they're eating at school. And you find that a lot of, you know, nutrients, for example, iron, the food is very iron rich, comes from the school feeding program that we're a part of. So nutrition is a key part of it. We do studies with universities, we do studies as ourselves. We also have a fully fledged food safety lab just outside Nairobi that ensures that this food is safe, not just nutritious, but safe, because this is a critical critical part of our community, the children.
Earlier on you mentioned something, tap to eat. Tell us more about that.
Perfect. So tap to eat, and I'm wearing the watch. It's the yellow one that's branded with one of the county governments we work with in Nairobi.